Welcome, everyone. Today is an interesting topic because we're going to talk about something that, as a business professional, you use in most cases every day, most likely multiple times, or as an adult, you're using it sometimes, right? Even as a student, you're using it sometimes. But let me introduce it by saying over 300 billion emails are sent daily. So we all are in that count if we are email users. And what's interesting or astounding is that 34 million are sent every second. Email is and remains a powerful communication tool in the digital age. So, welcome to Master Email Skills in Minutes. And of course, we are mastering English communication. So, before we begin, make sure to take notes and create your plan as we go along to improve your email skills. So why does it matter? Email, all right? Well, certainly professional success. Effective emails can advance your career and business relationships. Clear communication. A well-crafted email ensures your message is understood. After several decades in business, I can tell you it's very easy to be misunderstood in email and also to be someone maybe no one's going to tell you, but to be someone that has looked at that they don't write good emails, they're not a good writer, they're not a good professional communicator. In other words, people may be thinking that, and that, of course, may not be true. And then time efficiency. Good email skills save you time, both the sender and recipient. So if you're in business internally in your organization, that's a time saver. If you have clients, that's a time saver. So it's a time saver, period, end of story. And in personal relationships, everything can't be sent in a text. Sometimes you're going to use an email. So how do we get started? Well, for one thing, let's get some rules of orders, let's say. And I'm going to give out several of these along the way in the lesson. Compelling subject lines. Be concise. Do not feel that you have to write words by the thousands, pages by the hundreds, or anything of that nature. Also, use action verbs. Words like request, invitation, or update, they signal clear intent. So you want to use words like this. Personalize. Include the recipient's name or reference previous conversations. In other words, if you know the people in some way or other, let them know. Let them know that you remember them. Let them know the tenor or the tone of the email as well. Then, of course, your opening sentences. We have to get people to continue to listen to us, right? And listening is both in audio and in written form. So crafting clear opening sentences and the rules that work are be brief, start with a simple, clear statement or question. And normally, if you've been listening to my work, I normally start with a question or a simple, clear statement on purpose, just to give you a flavor of what's coming. Then state the purpose. Clearly explain why you're writing the thing that you're writing. And then avoid unnecessary jargon. Now, the reason I say unnecessary jargon is that if you're in a particular business that has jargon as part of the daily language, like the various areas of technology, different areas have different jargon terms. If you're in various areas of financial services, they're going to have jargon terms. So avoid unnecessary jargon, but use the jargon that is expected in your peer group or in your communication internally in the company, or even to the client. All right. But make sure that it's easy to understand. Now let's look at structuring the email body. Use bullet points. I'm a big fan of bullet points. So anyone that receives any type of communication from me that's going to be generally more than one paragraph, most likely is going to start to have bullet points. Right? This way, you break up the text for easy scanning. And I'm going to mention a little bit about this later in the lesson. Short paragraphs, long, dense paragraphs become uncomfortable for the reader. And even though they don't tell you, they are not going to read it. I will tell you, when I was in a previous business for many years, if I got an overly long email, I'd read the first paragraph, then I'd just call the person and we'd have to have a conversation. So if you were working with me in some way, the people that had an extended or long-term working relationship with me knew I was not going to read their email if it was long. So they would not write them. So only someone who didn't have a relationship or didn't understand the rules of email would write me some kind of overly long email. So you want to keep the information concise and digestible. And then clear headings. Guide the readers through your message. Now, sometimes you can't help but write a long email. So you want to make it easy to read. That's why structuring the email body, you want to use the bullet points where appropriate. You want to have short paragraphs. In some cases, you may have to have clear headings. You may have to have a heading or two in the paragraphs, right? So you want to guide the readers through the message. You don't want people to feel like they're lost in whatever you're trying to say, because once again, they're not going to read it. Then we want to have a strong call to action. Be specific, use action verbs, set deadlines. So clearly state what you expect from the person reading. Use action verbs. So, if you have a call to action, an appropriate set of verbs, not the only ones, but an appropriate set would be verbs such as reply, download, register, and then set deadlines. Tell people what you expect. If it's urgent, then create urgency for faster responses. So we have some additional email videos, excuse me, and written communication best practices available on my channel. So visit those for a little bit deeper information. But also, if you're finding this video lesson helpful, please give us a like. Thank you. Email etiquette essentials. Have a professional greeting. Set a respectful tone. Even if you know the person well, respect is always welcome. Proofread. Eliminate typos and grammatical errors. You don't want people starting to focus away from your message and onto your poor grammar. Professional format. I just went over that, but remember, use a clean, consistent email layout. Proofreading and editing. Read aloud. Catch awkward phrases and flow issues. Things sound different when you read them aloud than when you simply just read them silently. Peer review. If it's a very important email, as long as you're not in a massive rush of time, have someone else check your email, just to be sure. Don't only depend on an AI tool. And then final check, ensure clarity and effectiveness before sending. I normally will not send an email right away. I will write it, put it away, and maybe come back in an hour, come back the next day. It depends on the timing of it. And then mastering follow-up emails. Reference previous communication. All right, remind people. People are doing other things, especially in business. They're busy, right? So remind the recipient of the context of your email. Once again, I'm going to say it again because this is super important. Be concise. Keep follow-ups brief, on target, and to the point. Be clear about next steps, outline actions or expectations, and make sure they're in context. Do not go off topic to talk about something else. Key takeaways. Practice, practice, practice. So those of you that have listened to my lessons before, you know I emphasize practice. So practice makes perfect. Consistently apply these skills and these approaches to improve your emails. Remember the compelling subject lines. You want to make sure you have the person's attention right from the beginning. Structure your content. Use formatting that is appropriate for your industry, your position in the industry, and the person you're speaking with. And then have a strong call to action. Guide the recipients to the next steps. Now, the power of personalization. So do some research, maybe, depending on the context of what you're trying to do, particularly if you're in sales. Learn about your recipient a little bit before writing. Right? Now, this may not always be possible, but certainly if you're selling what I call big ticket items or things that are very expensive, then you want to get to know, to the extent possible, the person that you're working with. Tailor your content, address specific needs or interests. Build rapport. Use a friendly but professional tone. Mastering email attachments. So just attaching something doesn't mean anyone's going to know it's there, because most likely it will appear at the bottom, all right, as an attachment, and people may not always get to the bottom or that far under your signature line, for argument's sake. So mention in the body that there are attachments for their review or reading or to keep or whatever it is. Name things properly. Use clear descriptive file names. If you're sending your resume, one of my practices, I mention that it's the resume that I'm sending. I mention my name. This is all in the title, right? And I may even mention the current version of it slash date. Right? That way, the person, particularly if they are in human resources or there's some reason they need, they have uh, in their receipt a number of different resumes or of similar type emails with attachments, etc. They very quickly know what yours is. And then check the size. There are limitations. You cannot send the super large files. You may have to use a service. Sometimes if you're using something like Gmail, they will collapse it down. All right. But there are other services that will also um, shrink your email. You can make a zip file out of it, things like that. And if you're not sure about some of these, simply do a search online, and different tools for shrinking down large attachments will come up. And then mobile email optimization, short paragraphs, large buttons, responsive design. So one of the things that drives the design of the presentation format that I use for the lessons is that I try to keep in mind that some of you will be looking on a cell phone or a small netbook or something, a smaller screen. So I try to keep things in, I guess, formatted in a way that will be comfortable for you to go through them. So short paragraphs, brief, scannable text blocks. The large buttons. This will make the call to action or calls to action easy to tap on mobile or mobile devices. Have a responsive design. Ensure your emails look good on all devices. In terms of analytics and improvement, track your open rates. If you have the ability on your email service to check open rates, you should, and monitor how many recipients open your emails. Analyze click-throughs. See which link recipients are clicking on, if any. And then do something called A/B testing, right, if you haven't heard it. What this simply means is you're experimenting with different things. In this case, the example I use is experiment with different subject lines and content. Move forward, continuously learn. Please like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment if you haven't already. It helps us help you. And I will see you next time as we continue our linguistic adventure together. Take care, everyone.